Can you hear this? Wonderful, thank you. It's 4:30, and so we will continue the hearing continuance that has been planned for tonight. Two of our members of council are ill and will not be attending, Mike Press and Ed Walsh. And so there are five members of council here tonight, along with the law director, the clerk, and the mayor. Also present is the building official, Dave Biggert. From the appellant side, Mr. and Mrs. DeSillo are here. Their architect, Jim Haas, their contractor, Mark Angie, and their attorney, Jerry, pardon me? Patron. I was just about to work with that one. Thank you, Jerry. Save me the struggle. I thought we'd proceed by us having a few opening remarks, turning it over to Jerry and his team, and then take questions from council. Is that all right to proceed?
Yes. I'm the potted plant again, I think, today, so.
Okay, well, let me start this off if that's okay. So council should know that in the last 60 days, we have met with the DeSillo team last Friday. And I put together a few notes. And let me read through these in case you haven't seen them. Probably haven't seen them because they're my notes. But and then I'll see whether there's any questions on these and turn it over to Jerry and DeSillos. So last Friday, myself, the law director, and the building official met with the individuals that are in the front row there. In the strictest sense, the owners have not met the requirements that council imposed on them. That is approval by the historic board, approval by the architectural board, a signed contract, and funds in escrow. Number two, the owner's architect was present and chose, the owner's architect retired and chose not to make any future drawing changes. His plans have the last site changes on 12/14. Our last hearing was on 12/23. So about mid-January, he had concluded his services and had passed on his CAD files to the owners. Since that time, the owners have identified Mr. Haas as a replacement architect, and Mr. Haas is with us today to answer questions that you may have. Mr. Haas also presented to us a list of references and credentials, including homes that he has worked on. 9 of those homes are here in Gates Mills, one's in Hunting Valley, and there's a variety across other parts of Northeast Ohio. I also had an opportunity to check with 1 or 2 of our architects on record who give a thumbs up to Mr. Haas's background, training, and skill. It wasn't necessary, but in the old auditor way I have of trust and verify, I thought I would trust and verify. Mr. Haas attended the meeting. It was obvious by his participation that he has been on site, that he understands the plans that were drawn, that he understands the historical district in which the property is at. And I think he can speak for himself, but understands that the footprint that's there will stay, the framed house that's there will stay, and any adjustments or additions, suggestions would represent a modest, maybe 10% change to what's currently there. Mr. Haas is not going to accept someone else's drawings and just stamp them. So he will undertake a traditional meeting with the DeSillos to understand what they want in terms of their house, but respect that a vast majority of it is already in place. Mr. DeSillo delivered to us just a few minutes ago a copy of the signed contract between the DeSillos and the architect. So we have a very specific retainer agreement on what is included, which includes those construction drawings and other options. I just received it, so I did not pass it along to council. If you all want to see it, we'd be happy to share it with you after the meeting. Mr. Haas and the DeSillos believe they need 90 days to update the plans, if you will, meet with his clients, create a new set of construction drawings that again reflect the same footprint and the same framing, but for a small, maybe a few small additions or changes. That 90 days also includes review of the historic board and review through the architectural review board, so that all those items are completed in 90 days. Perhaps it's less, but that's what was asked. On the contractor side, Mr. Ainge was there as well, and we had a conversation with him. He believes that everything that could be done to winterize the house at this point has been done. They have installed all the windows. They have tidied up the location to the point there were entranceways such as the front door, the side door, and the garages that didn't have doors. Doors or plywood were put on so as to secure the premises from vandalism or animals or people that just happen to stray out of the property. Mr. Ainge also indicated that he's been fully paid, and so his services are current. The owners do not feel they want to put the $300,000 type figure into escrow. They cite the possible cost of an escrow agreement and an escrow fee, and feel that the relationships that they have with the contractor and among themselves, that they could handle the payment without needing to provide the assurance to us that the money is available. To me, the project has progressed somewhat. We have a more qualified team, an interested architect, a contractor who's delivered on his promises, and owners who now seem to be even more motivated to get the project completed. Let me pause and see whether Todd or Dave have any further comment, as they were also at that Friday meeting.
No, Mayor, I think you summarized it very well, and I'm anxious to hear from Mr. Patronite and the DeSillos. I think there were other things that were said on Friday that were very positive, particularly that the DeSillos wish to live in this house and raise their family there. Was one aspect of it, and there are some revisions to the plans that will need to go through the historic subcommittee and architectural board. That's about all I have to add.
I have no additional comments. Thank you.
And some financial discussion about financial assurance that there is money available, which they can elaborate on.
Any questions of council at this point? If not, we'll turn it over to Mr. Patronite and his side.
Nothing to say. Or Priscilla, if you wanted to elaborate on that, anything?
Good afternoon. I think that was summarized very well. We're happy with the progress thus far. I think the key element prohibiting us from moving forward was our architect retiring. There's nothing that we can do about that. And unfortunately, Mark stepped in and introduced us to a person that he's been working with for a long time and has a good working relationship with. So I think most of the questions at this point would pertain to the architectural design or his timeline or his deliverables, as we have hit the other two milestones to get to this point. Funding, contract. Mr. Angie's done what he can to the extent that he can, given the permission to temporarily secure the structure. There was some discussion over some potential roof elements that were, there was some question on whether it should have been done or not, but based on the feedback we were given from ARB, we've done the necessary securement, I guess, to the extent that the two gentlemen here believe. I think there was also some clarification on the home being for sale and whether we still intended to live there and flip it. It's always been our intent to live there, and still is, and that's how we're proceeding for a moment in time in order to work with the village to solve an issue. We had listed it for sale to find a potential buyer or an avenue to solve an issue together. But as they previously stated, we still intend to live there and occupy the home after it is complete and built.
Present.
Yes.
Do you know something?
Mr. Haas, might you be able to comment a bit on kind of the historical district that we're in and that you'll need to be working in, and your sensitivity to building essentially a new home in a historic district with specific rules?
Right. Good evening or afternoon. I totally understand the historic nature of the home. We're approaching this as which is what it is, a brand new submittal. And I was not involved in the past. I don't want to speak too harshly on that part of it. There's a lot of miscoordination in the drawings, which I think was causing frustration, as I understand it, with the village. Details of how to build a home versus the elevation pictures of the home not meshing. So a lot of the work is just going to be in coordinating those drawings and getting them kind of where they should be. In the interim, there's going to be an addition added on, same footprint. We're just going to take a one-story section, turn it into two. So there will be a new set of drawings, and we'll definitely address all the historic nature of the area. And that
Thank you,
90
Jim.
I'd say that 90 days too, excuse me.
Sandra?
Hopefully that's the outset, especially with, if we can call special meetings for the historic board and that kind of thing.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Timeline, thank you.
Any other questions of council members?
I think they're doing good. I know we had a requirement about the escrow money. Given the current posture, I don't think we need that requirement.
I can speak to that. Had we needed to provide the funds in full, because the number continues to change, had we needed to put the full funds needed potentially for this project at the time it was required, I believe sometime in November to this day. Unfortunately, the project continues to rack up cost, and putting that amount of money in escrow itself would have cost us to date tens of thousands of dollars. So we've provided the contractors with assurance they've been paid. We can continue to follow that sequence and provide assurances or feedback to the community to ensure we don't have a repeat. But it would be an exorbitant additional cost for us that we're trying to not incur.
Mr. DeCillo, do you want to speak to line of credit?
The line of credit is still available. The funds that will be utilized to engage with Mr. Haas and that have been paid to Mr. Angie and future funds have not been needed to draw off that line. Our banker can provide the village with the credit line, the letter of credit. It is still available. It has not been utilized and can be updated and provided back to the village as well, again, to provide an update as of today or tomorrow.
I think I had questions for Mr. Haas. When we met on Friday, you had indicated, I believe, that you were familiar with the neighborhood, that you had gone out and viewed other homes immediately in that same vicinity.
Correct. Yeah.
And you're familiar with those and how they've been constructed and what elements they have. Is that fair
That
to
is,
say?
yeah, that is correct, yes.
And you do understand that the historic subcommittee of the ABR has not seen this. And so the historic subcommittee has given you feedback, but that does not mean that those things that have been put out there by an architect who's not on the subcommittee, but our consultants, are exactly that, and that is comments.
Now,
And if you have any dispute with any of those comments, you need to speak up and tell them why something can't be done, why it's maybe not financially feasible, and why it's consistent with the other historic elements that are in that neighborhood.
understood. And I assume you want that conversation when we're at the board meetings? Not today?
I get the impression there wasn't that conversation in the past. It wasn't there.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, but we definitely will. And then if need be, we can submit preliminaries just to keep the village aware of where we're at and the status, and that'll help with keeping you aware of timeframes too. Okay.
It sounds like there's been a lot of progress made. So thank you very much. But just to make sure that we're on the same page, I'd like to move that we go into executive session to at least consider the progress and the response to the issues that we raised with them previously.
And the reason for that would be that there is case law in Ohio that says that the deliberation of this body acting as a quasi judicial body is appropriate. to retire out of the public eye and also to get advice from legal counsel for the village.
We'd like to ask you what our options are, Todd.
What's that?
We'd like to ask you what our options are.
Okay.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David.
Can I ask two questions before we go into that
Sure.
section? Okay. So I just heard that that there's no escrow, but there is a letter of credit or a line. Okay, thank you. And, second of all, does, Mr. Haas, Mr. Contractor, Angie, thank you.
Angie.
Thanks, Frank. Do you feel confident in the security that you've been provided for the work that you're going to be doing? Okay, thank you. Mr. Haas as well?
Financially?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Quick
I had a
question.
motion. Yes,
question,
David.
If I couldn't. When they deliver the plan, when the owners deliver the new plan, are they going to be held to the standards of the historic district? Or are they going to be constrained by the way the original house appeared? I don't understand which track we're on in that regard.
I think that elements of both, but I think primarily the standards of the historic district.
Right,
We're not trying to rebuild the house that was there 150 years ago,
no.
but we do want to respect it and how it was
whatever
built
that-
and how it looks.
Whatever that means.
I think that's why Mr. Haas's
Understood.
presence at the neighboring homes to understand, I'll just say, the detailing and the nuances of how things were constructed 50, 75, 100 years ago is important.
No, sure.
And it's
Okay,
the
thank you.
intent to maintain that character, but this is a new submission. And I'm not gonna say it won't match the house that was there, but it probably won't.
Yeah.
In detail.
Sounded like he's gonna put on second floor on a part. Nick, I would
Yeah.
recommend make it as big as you can. You'll be, trust me.
And some of the overhang detail, without getting too technical, it'll be some of the details we get to that won't match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have had a motion and a second. Vote, please, clerk.
Yes.
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 Thank you. We'll be back shortly.
a motion, we're going to continue the hearing for 120 days on the condition that we got 90 days to get approvals, and sign contract and with the builder, sign contract with the builder, and if in the meantime, if it goes fast enough that that there could be a building permit issued, that's fine. And we'll see you back here in 120 days. See you in
Ab-
June.
The update on the line of credit? The update on the line of credit, did you mention that?
We would like to receive on a monthly basis an update on the line of credit balance and its availability.
Yep.
Also, just for clarification, Dave would be, there is nothing to prohibit Dave from issuing a building permit earlier if the ARB and the Historic Board have gone through their recommendation approval processes. So you don't need to wait 90 or 120 days. Do not.
I'll address this to the law director. Does this have any impact on the pending criminal case, as they call it, in Lyndhurst?
I can't answer that without discussing it with the prosecutor, but I certainly will and discuss it with you too, Mr. Patron. The one thing, Mr. Broom, is instead of saying 120 days, it might be good to set it for
Oh.
the meeting date in June.
The June meeting,
Third
right?
Tuesday.
Yeah, so let's say the third Tuesday of June. That's true.
If needed.
Okay, do I have a second for the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion from council? Roll call, please, clerk.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn the hearing, to continue the hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Lori. Any comment? Roll call, please.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Okay, the hearing's been continued. Thank you all.